Ever get that, I don't know, that sinking feeling? When you realize the information you're using, it's about as useful as, like, yesterday's weather report.
Happens all the time, right? Especially in the business world. Today's news is tomorrow's history, practically.
It's true, things move so fast, and that's why we're doing a deep dive today on something that's all about staying ahead. Evergreen Documents. Making sure the information you're using is always up to date, relevant, all that good stuff.
It's a shift in how we think about documents, really. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, one little typo could mean reprinting a whole batch of brochures.
Oh, I can only imagine the headaches.
A huge waste. But the digital world, it's changed all that. Documents, they aren't set in stone anymore. They can evolve, be updated.
Okay, so that's where the whole evergreen thing comes in.
Exactly. Like those trees, always green, always
I
thriving.
like the analogy.
Yeah.
But I was reading this piece by Curt Robbins, a technical writer, and, well, he throws in a bit of a reality check.
Oh, how
He's
so?
basically saying, just because you can update something doesn't mean it will be updated.
He's got a point there. It's like anything else, you need to tend to it, put in the effort.
Right. So how do we prevent ending up with a whole bunch of digital dust bunnies? Documents that are supposed to be evergreen, but are really just, well, out of date.
It's all about strategy, having a system in place.
So you're saying we can't just create a document and then just forget about it.
Exactly. And chances are our competitors, they're already on top of this.
So we're already behind if we don't have some kind of plan, even a basic one. All right, so let's talk strategy. What are the key elements we need to be thinking about to make sure our information stays fresh and relevant?
Well, for starters, you got to build in a review cycle. Regular checkups.
Got it. So like setting reminders. But how often are we talking about here?
That depends, really. Some things, they change fast. Industry regulations, for example, those you're checking every few months, at least. But a company knowledge base article, maybe once a year is enough. Point is, got to be intentional about it.
Don't let them get lost in the shuffle.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind, and then you're in trouble. But a review schedule, that's just the first step, really.
Okay, so what else do we need to consider?
Ownership. You need someone who's in charge of keeping that document alive and kicking.
So like a designated document owner.
Exactly. Think of them like a gardener, but for information, not plants.
I like that. Someone to prune the outdated stuff, keep things tidy.
Exactly. Now imagine you've got multiple gardeners, right? All working on the same plant. Might get a little messy.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say. Things can get real confusing real fast.
Same goes for documents, especially with everyone working remotely these days. And that's where our last ingredient comes in, version control. Got to make sure everyone's on the same page, literally.
No more emailing files back and forth, hoping for the best.
Mm.
I've been there. It's not pretty. So version control, that's key for collaboration.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got our review schedule, designated ownership, and version control. Sounds like a pretty good system to me, but let's say someone's listening and they're thinking, I'll skip all that, it's fine. What's at stake here? What's the worst case scenario if we ignore all this evergreen stuff? Oh, it can get pretty bad. Think about it. You're making a big decision, right, based on some fancy report.
Important stuff.
Exactly. But that report, what if the data is like 2 years old?
Yikes. Not exactly a recipe for success.
No, not at all. And it's not just bad decisions either. Compliance is a big one, especially in certain industries. Healthcare, finance. Outdated info there, that's a legal nightmare waiting to happen.
Oof, yeah, that's serious stuff. So it's not just about efficiency. It's about avoiding some real risks. Like, it's actually important to stay on top of this.
It really is. But look, the good news is if you've got these practices in place, reviews, ownership, version control, you're not just reacting to problems, you're preventing them.
Much better way to live, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Proactive, not reactive. And you know what? This whole evergreen idea, it's not just for work stuff, is it?
No way. I mean, think about it. Recipes you use, instructions for putting that bookshelf together.
Oh, don't remind me about that bookshelf. Took me forever.
Gee, you probably wished you had the updated instructions.
Don't I know it? Okay, so this applies to pretty much any information we need to rely on in any part of life.
Exactly. It's about being in control of the information, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Curating it, almost like, I don't know, like tending a garden, like we were saying.
There's that gardening analogy again. Love it. It's about making sure the information we're using is actually nourishing us, helping us grow.
Exactly.
Awesome. So to wrap things up, it seems like the big takeaway here is this. In a world that's constantly changing, we can't just expect information to stay relevant on its own.
Mm.
We have to be proactive about keeping it fresh, keeping it evergreen.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
On that note, a huge thank you to everyone for joining us on another deep dive. Until next time.